Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here. It's the uncut channel. I'm going to use it again. I'm going to put all the stuff on here that I can't put on my main channel, completely unfiltered. So we're looking at A Long Goodbye, Getting Over Trump by Charles C.W. Cook, published in National Review. I no longer subscribe to National Review. I pick it up free when the library throws away their old copies. So Cook here is making what I'd call an attempt at a moderate, circumspect form of never Trumpism. He even throws some shade at the kind of radical never Trumpism of guys like the Lincoln Project, Irving Kristol. He doesn't name names though, so we always punch hard right and have circumspect, thoughtful dialogue towards the left. So what's kind of like neat and sad about this article is there are actually a couple nuggets in here I agree with, but the whole article basically illustrates the problem, I think, of why are so many people canceling their subscription to National Review? Well, it's the every 4 years we have the National Review Miss Electable Republican Beauty Contest, and National Review's already getting ready for 2024. Who will be crowned National Review's Miss Electable Republican? As long as it's not Trump, he, Z, Zim, Zer has a chance at being Miss Electable Republican. So let's dig into it. So Cook starts with an allusion to Lord Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade, because National Review, their target audience specifically is business Republicans who golf on the weekends and read British poetry. It's a really poor allusion to Tennyson, though. It's rhetorically bad. It sounds smart. Oh, wow, Alfred Lloyd Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade. But Cook's point doesn't make sense. So the Charge of the Light Brigade, these heroes who charge into battle and die, ours is not to reason why, ours is to do and to die. But Cook says, unlike the fellows in the Light Brigade, ours is indeed to make reply, ours is indeed to reason why. So unlike the brave heroes of the Charge of the Light Brigade, we at National Review, our job is to sit around asking why and not charging heroically into battle. Okay, Chuck. If that's the one you want to go with, do you see the problem? This is so midwit. Let's allude to some beautiful British poetry, but let's be the opposite of the heroes in this beautiful poem we're alluding to. Okay, let's move on. Trump would never make this mistake, Chuck. All right. In what matter? There's the rub. 7 years ago, it was forgivable to shout forward, charge for the guns, when trying to prevent Trump from becoming the nominee. Today, such a blunder would represent a refusal to survey the field. So we've got to be pragmatic and we've got to look at the actual situation on the ground. We can't just dumbly charge into battle if we want to stop Trump from being the nominee in 2024. If the GOP's Trump era is to be brought to an irrefutable close, it will be because the architects of his removal chose to embrace the same amoral political reality that Trump has used to his advantage, and thereby meet the dissenters on their own terms. Now, basically, we're going to give up the idea of having a heroic charge, and we're going to fight and play dirty politics to beat Trump. Well, let's think about this a minute. What happened when Marco Rubio made fun of the size of Donald Trump's hands? Well, Trump just called him Little Marco, and he looked at the camera and said, look, Marco accused Donald Trump of having a small penis, and Donald Trump just looks at the camera and says, there's no problem in that department, I guarantee it. What did the Republicans fail to do in 2016? They failed to realize that you can't outrageous Donald Trump. You can't out-Trump Trump. He is his flaws and all, his personality was he's the brash, braggadocious, non-political, anti-PC, big, fat, tough guy. And nice, conservative business Republicans in suits and red ties. It's like nerds trying to be cool, edgy bullies. They just can't pull it off. So I don't know. I don't know what Charles C.W. Cook is expecting to do. We're just going to call him names. We're going to call him Fatso Donald or Mr. Donald Duck or whatever. How are we going to out-dirty Donald Trump, Chuck? So perhaps in an ideal world, American politics would not be grubby and unkempt and complex. Perhaps in an ideal world, American politics would instead be clean, tidy, and simple. I get the feeling Chuck's stretching his word count here. Like, this is a lot of verbiage just basically to make the point. We have to be pragmatic, okay? One sentence. There is nothing unconservative about doing so. To remain moral, conservatism must indeed care about what should be. To remain vital, however, it must also care about what is. So, same point. Be pragmatic. The project to remove Donald Trump from his position at the head of the Republican Party is no exception to this rule. So here's a problem. What he's basically recognizing is let's say the GOP just said, we're not going to nominate Donald Trump. We refuse to let him run. Remember Hillary Clinton winning the superdelegates and Bernie Sanders supporters getting really ticked off about that because it felt like Hillary Clinton was being crowned. The Democrats, allegedly the party of the voice of the little guy and the voice of the people, weren't letting Bernie have the time of day. All of these institutes of power were coming together to support Hillary over Bernie. Even if there was no dirty cheating going on, there was a feeling that dirty cheating was going on, and there was at least they were 100% sure that all of the institutions of power were supporting Hillary over Bernie. And there really were blue-collar Bernie Sanders guys who switched to Trump rather than Hillary. The Republican Party has the same dynamics problem. Nobody likes it if golf-playing Republican businessmen, and of course they wear their black suits and red ties 100% of the time, even while they're out golfing, right? Nobody likes feeling like that's who gets to pick who represents me. So if you say, well, we can't just come in and stop it, okay, I guess that's true. But you also can't say, well, we've got to be sneaky and seditious and as a way of stopping Trump from becoming the nominee. Either way, people will notice that you are deliberately trying to stop Trump from becoming the nominee, whether you do it in a braggadocious, big and loud, slam the fist down on him way, or in a what you think is sort of a sneaky Sun Tzu art of war way. And you're writing an article saying we intend to be sneaky and undermine Donald Trump in quiet, subtle ways. So it is not sneaky anymore if you announce it. I can fully comprehend the desire that many feel for the arrival of a single cathartic moment in which, by virtue of an impeachment or a conviction or a mass awakening of the Republican electorate, Donald Trump is preemptorily confined to the sidelines. As a citizen who lives in the real world, though, I am aware that this is never going to happen. And worse still, I am aware that attempts to force such a moment may well end up having the opposite effect of the one intended, right? If you try to crush Donald Trump, the whole dynamics of what makes Donald Trump work is the opposition to Donald Trump makes Donald Trump seem better because whatever his flaws are, he doesn't have the same flaws of his opponents. At least he's not that pretentious West Coast prick. No, if Trump is to be toppled, it will be bit by bit, day by day, cut by cut, sigh by sigh. It will be achieved by a rich combination of criticism, indifference, self-interest, exhaustion, avoidable mistakes, and the ineluctable march of time. It will take the Liz Cheneys who castigate him. It will take the Mitch McConnells who discount him. It will take the Ron DeSantises who play air but not acolyte. And as important yet, it will take the growing number of former fans who still love the man, but are nevertheless interested in moving on. So I would actually count myself in this very last category. Trump's personality grew on me in office. I was a stop Trumper. I voted Ted Cruz in the primaries. I felt that anguish and anxiety about voting for a man who I thought was immoral and wouldn't represent me. But then I thought, wait a second, we need the bloody Supreme Court, and whoever is president's going to pick 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices. And the pragmatic argument that the Supreme Court matters, that one out, right? There's no that's the last argument for me. So one problem here is, well, okay, that's great. A barrel of your enemy's rice is worth 10 of your own. What does this mean specifically? We're gonna beat Trump by doing clever little ways of cutting and undercutting him. Right. We're gonna use the strategy to beat the Trump. Okay, what specifically are we gonna do to beat the Trump cook? This is another flaw I think that neoconservatives have is they talk a lot about intelligence and strategy and crafting brilliant arguments, but they never get around to what these strategies and crafty techniques and brilliant arguments actually are. It's the smarts. The smarts will outsmart the unsmart guy. All right. The process will be an evolution rather than a revolution, a battle of attrition, not a glorious charge. So basically, Cook, I think, has felt the sting of 2016. I'm sure National Review has felt the sting of canceled subscriptions. I'm sure they've looked aside at the collapse of the Weekly Standard and have sensed this is something that could happen to us too. So the painful reality is Trump is popular. He has a cult of personality. You are not going to destroy a guy like Trump with a ham-fisted sorry, you can't run. We're not going to let you run. So, but then you're announcing you plan this war of attrition to achieve the same ends that Trump supporters are suspicious. Trump supporters are deeply suspicious that you'd rather Trump lose and Biden win. And your way of assuaging that fear is to say, well, we'll just try to secretly stop Trump. Or to put it another way, there is no path to a post-Trump Republican Party that goes around rather than through Donald Trump. So we're looking forward to Trump running in 2024. Somehow we've got to stop Trump all over again, and the only way out is through. I would actually disagree with this premise. So I do not want Trump to run in 2024. I think he had his time in the limelight. He's going to be in his 80s before he would finish his second term as president. If I were Trump's son, I would urge him not to run. I want young blood in politics. I want someone under 80 running for president, for the love of God. How about someone 35? The founding fathers thought 35 was old enough to run for president. Let's let a 35-year-old represent us for a change of pace. But so I actually kind of agree with Cook's desire. I would prefer, he and I would both prefer if Trump didn't run in 2024. Where I think Cook is wrong is Cook thinks if Trump runs in 2024, we're going to have to find some way to ram through him and beat him. I think that Trump's cult of personality, if we're being pragmatic and just trying to be realistic and look at the situation that is, then the situation that is that Trump's cult of personality is huge. His people love him. They go to his rallies, they wear their red hats, they cheer. So if you want to talk about pragmatic realities, that's the pragmatic reality. The base loves the guy. What are you going to do about that crushes the man without crushing his base and chasing them away from you? This may appall, but it shouldn't surprise. A lot about how when political parties get into difficult situations, basically they have to muddle through. We have to muddle through until Trump is gone forever. It has been said that humor represents tragedy plus time, and then a whole lot about politicians ignoring or kind of hand-waving or never talking about the sins of other people in their party. Ultimately, voters who want to get rid of who want to rid the GOP of Donald Trump need to decide whether we truly mean it when we say he is uniquely unsuited to office and to tease out what it means in practice. There'll be a few guys who can plausibly beat him. Some of them will be flawed. Some of them will have associated with Donald Trump. Oh, no. So part of Cook's argument is also to fellow never-Trumpers. Look, fellow never-Trumpers, we need to, not everybody who ever said nice things about Donald Trump we can't just get rid of all of them. We may actually have to support a candidate other than Donald Trump who has occasionally said nice things about Donald Trump. And it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard to vote for a Republican who said nice things about Donald Trump. But if we want to beat Donald Trump, we got to swallow our pride and vote for one of those disgusting Republicans who actually said nice things about Donald Trump. Very smart. C.W. Cook, you've recognized reality. Let's continue on. Some, perhaps all of them, will pay tribute to Trump while they are running against him. Yeah, that's what Ted Cruz tried to do, and it didn't work. He was hoping that when Trump got beaten, Cruz would inherit Trump's base, and instead what happened is Trump was the alligator, and he ate Cruz last and called him Lion Ted. My answer is simple. We should pick one of those alternative candidates, the one who is closest to one's own views and who has a reasonable chance of winning. That's okay. I voted for Ted Cruz in the primary, so if you want to voice your displeasure at Donald Trump, voting for one of the other candidates who runs, who you think is better than Donald Trump, I'm not for kicking you out of the Republican Party for that. I'm not a diehard Trump or die, no one but Trump. The thing I like about Trump is I think he actually did some concrete things, like appoint Supreme Court justices, leading to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, proving that the pragmatic argument in favor of Trump was always right. And people at National Review should have been able to see that coming. But yeah, so I'm fine if you want to support another candidate in the primaries. We should acquiesce to how things are unfolding on the ground. If, as in 2016, the field is crowded and split, we should help to uncrowd it by coalescing around the non-Trump candidate who seems to have the best shot. So here we go. It's back. Miselectable Republican 2024. So are you tired of National Review deciding who the best candidate is for president? Well, that's okay. This time, we'll just tell you, whoever it is, it's not going to be Trump. We know Trump is out of the running for Miselectable Republican. These guys will help you decide who the most electable Republican, apart from Donald Trump, will be. They'll uncrowd the field. If another populist candidate is on the field and they don't like him, don't you worry. They'll make sure that they'll point at the correct person to support apart from Trump. And if we don't like the alternatives other than as a means by which to beat Trump, we should make our peace with that in pursuit of the lesser of two evils. You mean it's okay to vote for the lesser of two evils? This is something it's appropriate for me to do. It doesn't make me evil to decide that I want to vote for the lesser of two evils. He's also saying that no matter who it is, as long as it's not Trump, that automatically is the lesser of two evils. Let's think about that. What if a Republican candidate runs who's pro-choice and pro-LGBTQ plus groomer school child mutilation, but very moderate and wants tax cuts? Is that the lesser of two evils? Well, we don't know yet because we don't know who the other candidates are. So even though we don't know who the candidates are, and they could have all kinds of abominable problems, we're already confident that whoever they are, anybody who runs against Trump is probably the lesser of two evils compared to Trump. Now, maybe this means we should make our peace with that pursuit in the lesser of two evils. Yeah. He's saying that the lesser of two evils is whoever that non-Trump candidate is going to be. I don't see. Maybe there's a little wiggle room here where, I don't know, if a serial killer runs, maybe finally Trump will become the lesser of the two evils. Maybe. Let's see. He kind of criticizes the Never Trump desire to destroy anybody who has any connection whatsoever to Donald Trump. You know, we got to be realistic, right? Unfortunately, our not Trump candidate may have said something nice about Trump at one point. They ought to think more seriously than they have about why Trump rose to prominence in the first place. An actual solid thought. Put yourself into the perspective of a blue-collar white worker who used to vote Democrat and union candidates and for some reason switched over to Trump in 2016 and ask, what is it that the blue-collar factory worker liked about Donald Trump? What did he articulate to them that resonated with them? Maybe we should, even if you hate Trump, maybe we should try to resonate with the factory worker the way that Trump did. They ought to explore what Trump failed to do with his time in office and how someone else might improve upon it. Yes, Trump said he was going to get rid of the swamp. He did not get rid of the swamp. The swamp got rid of him. If Republicans are ever allowed to win a election again in post-COVID clown world, then we absolutely can't miss our chance to get rid of the deep state this time. That's a mistake Donald Trump made. Maybe if he got reelected, he wouldn't repeat that mistake. Whoever gets elected, no more deep state. That's gotta be taken out of root and branch. Above all, they ought to concentrate on the issues that conservatives care about: inflation, wages, education policy, abortion, zoning, the courts, energy production, immigration, and the scourge of race and gender-obsessed identity politics. I agree with this. Let's get past maybe some of the politics of personal destruction and the politics of having a political messiah, and let's get into the issues. Let's speak to these issues. Let's talk about hospitals mutilating children for profit. Let's talk about shutting down hospitals and shutting down schools that encouraged children to chemically castrate themselves and cut off their breasts or cut the dicks off of young boys. Let's talk about those issues as often as possible. Much of Trump's appeal is personal. Regrettably, he had a point when he suggested that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone without losing much support. That's a joke. It's a joke. It's funny. It's a joke that's about, I have a cult of personality. But he's not saying I actually will stand in the middle of the street and shoot somebody. Remember when he said we have burgers piled a mile high, and media outlets said those burgers weren't literally piled a mile high. They were about 6 inches at most. Let the man speak figuratively, all right? If the Republican electorate can eventually be persuaded to hand over the keys to someone else, all in caps, someone else other than Trump, it will be because it trusts that someone else will be willing and able to advance its agenda. But personality does not explain all of Trump's allure. And if the Republican electorate can eventually be persuaded to hand over the keys to someone else, it will be because it trusts that someone else will be willing and able to advance its agenda, and to do so without all the nonsense that went along with the last guy. This actually makes sense. So if you supported Trump because you thought Trump was going to represent your interests, that means someone else besides Trump who will represent your interests can take the place of Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't have a special place in your heart and soul that's only for Jesus. But one of the pragmatic problems is a lot of people, their personal love for Trump is his personality and is that man himself. Personally, I think the best universe is Trump becomes responsible and decides not to run. If Trump does decide to run, I don't see any pragmatic way he's going to be beaten. And I actually don't think, if I were Ron DeSantis, I would not run against Donald Trump. I think it's foolish for the student to try to outshine the master. Wait your turn, bide your time, wait for Donald Trump to age out of the market, and then declare yourself the heir of his agenda. Finding and promoting those someone else's, yes, at the expense of those who have chosen to combine their anti-Trumpism with a rejection of traditional conservatism with a newfound distaste for the Republican Party in general. So what's nice about this is he's basically saying we can't beat Trump by combining with people who have abandoned the entirety of the Republican agenda in the name of hating Trump. Trump is bad, therefore abortion's not a big deal anymore. Trump is bad, therefore I guess gay marriage is okay. Trump is bad, therefore there's absolutely nothing suspicious going on with drag queen story hour. So good on you, Cook, for recognizing that there's some associations that we actually should be policing, and we actually should be policing our associations to the left a little bit. Or with the summary abandonment of the issues that had motivated them for decades prior to Trump's arrival on the scene. Yeah, Irving Kristol is the word, not named, should have been named, but Irving Kristol is the worst offender here. If they play it right, Trump's opponents will be able to muddle through and in fits and starts by trial and error, tinkering and nudging as they go, make a persuasive case for change, half a league onward, but no more besides. There's absolutely no way to overcome a cult of personality figure like Trump with clever, muddled little arguments that you push through slowly, gradually, and stubbornly. I'm sorry. If it's all on Trump. If Trump runs, he's the nominee, period. You are not going to stop it. If they try to stop him, we're just going to split the party. If Trump doesn't run, then we have an opportunity for some young blood, which my preference is it's time for the young blood to rise up and achieve the positive aspects of Trump's agenda without some of Trump's basically lack of discipline and lack of self-control in the political arena. That's my thought. So what is the state of National Review? Well, they seem to have grown a tiny bit. Yeah, we actually do have to take into consideration that Trump has massive support when we oppose Donald Trump. We can't stop Trump if what stopping Trump means is we shoot ourselves in the foot forever and we become losers forever. So I actually think one of the positive things Trump has done is he's reminded people that politics is dirty, and the metric of success in politics is winning. It's not keeping your shoes clean. So it seems like Cook has learned some of these hard lessons, but his way of expressing it is verbose. We'll just have to kill Trump by the death of 1,000 cuts instead of punching him in the face like a man. That's not pragmatic enough. The real pragmatic reality is to realize that Trump is the voice of the Republican of the populist voice of the Republican Party until such time as he retires or admits he's too old to keep doing this. So, nice try, Cook, but I don't think that National Review is going to be able to crown a miselectable Republican that'll be able to beat Trump. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Because the thing is, yeah, I used to hate Trump, but I'm always open to being persuaded and to changing my mind in future. Maybe he will finally shoot people on Fifth Avenue, and that'll be it. And the Trumpers will have had enough at him. I could be wrong. That's it. This has been #1 Marmaduke Fan Uncut. I love you guys. Catch you later.